Hello and welcome to the Sixth Axis. Today we have a video of a game called Lumo, and this is coming from AAA, which is the one-man studio of Gareth Noyce. And I think the first word that's going to spring to a lot of people's minds when they first see Lumo is adorable, or it could be cute, maybe even charming. I think charming is probably the word that I would use most often, and there's just something about this little wizard that you play as which just makes me smile. The game makes me think of the animated films where like a young child gets a wizard's pointy hat, precariously balances it on their head, and then because it's an adult's hat, it just falls over their face and it covers their eyes and that kind of thing. But the next word that's going to pop into your head is probably retro. And Gareth Noyce is more than happy to talk about his inspirations in developing this game. It's Head Over Heels or Equinox or countless other like Spectrum games of like the late 80s basically. But even if you've not played those games, and I personally haven't played those games, chances are that you'll still get that kind of vibe of that particular era and that generation of games. Except that the most important thing is that it's not the same as those games. It's inspired by them, but it's not a remake. And Gareth's also talked about how after reaching this opening area that I'm playing in, this castle kind of design, it branches off in different directions. It's maybe got a little feel of Zelda games or Metroidvania subgenre. And so there's this sprawling mass of little ideas which have been manifest in this game, so that it's not just a remake, it's something else entirely. And it's also a lot more forgiving than the games of old. I mean, you can play it without a map, with limited lives and like with the speedrun timer along the bottom of the screen, but you don't have to have those there, and by default they're not there. You have infinite lives, you can die as many times as you want, and you just get put back to the start of that particular room. So it's very forgiving in that regard, but it's also, it's exacting because you do have to get through that room, and one hit and you're dead. And another part of that retro spirit means that there's just lots and lots of odd things in the game. There's an awful lot of it that just doesn't make logical sense, but at the same time that's not really the point. I mean, why do wooden crates in this game have to be constrained by what wooden crates in real life can do? It's a video game, and so you can just let your imagination run wild. And in this case, some of them can be alive. They can be snoozing as you come into a room, and then when you get nearby, they wake up and they start to follow you around like a little lost puppy. You've also got SD cards. You've got lifts which appear in this medieval-looking castle, and it's just like, well, how does that come there? It doesn't make much sense. And also, what are the ducks about? I mean, I wasn't picking them up as I played, but they're just one of several quirky little collectibles which have been spread out through the game. And at the same time, it's obvious that none of this has to make logical sense, because each room that you play through is just floating there in the space, in the void. There's no overall castle, you can't look at it from the outside, it's just there in space, it's just happening to be there. But there is actually a reason and a bit of a story behind why you are here in this castle, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's another wonderful bit of homage and a little reference to like the 80s and pop culture of that era. And for a game that is filled with these kinds of nostalgic memories, I think it fits perfectly that you've got so many ideas in there, and you can see them all, and they might make you smile, they might make you laugh, there's lots of jokes and things like this. But most importantly, it doesn't just look charming, it's actually quite a bit of fun to play. I mean, there is a very gradual build-up, which I think is actually quite important, because even with lots of different options to find the right control setup for you, things can still feel quite alien and unusual when playing an isometric game for the first time in several years. And so to that end, you don't even start with being able to jump. You have to go through like 5 minutes of the game before you get to be able to jump around, just so that it makes sure that you've got the isometric controls in your hands. Now, as I said, I don't really have those reference points from the Spectrum's heyday, but at the same time I don't think you need to see and have them in order to find something nice and enjoyable in Lumo. And I'm actually really quite looking forward to seeing where the rest of this game ends up going. I want to see this larger world which you can explore in the different environments that Gareth's created. And this is just a sneak preview, really. I mean, keep an eye out for Lumo. in the not too distant future, because I do believe it is getting pretty close to release. I don't have a release date to hand yet, but it's not that far off. And in the meantime, I'm just going to say thanks for watching, ask you to click like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and head over to thesixthaxis.com for more gaming news, previews, reviews, and that kind of thing. And I will leave you with the rest of what I was allowed to play in the background. Goodbye.